Unacademy. Let's crack it.
Right, sir.
What are the strengths of our democracy?
Sir, the strengths of our democracy, firstly, the fact that we are able to accommodate diverse cultural diversity and still continue to work towards being a nation. So the fact that we have a lot of diversity in our country and even then we have managed to stay together as a nation is the biggest strength of a democracy according to me. Secondly, sir, it is the fact that despite being a relatively illiterate and uneducated electorate at the beginning of the nation, our people, our electorate have demonstrated extreme and very aware political consciousness and they are active participants to the process of democracy. They are not passive participants and we like to actively assert our rights and demands on the participating political parties during electoral processes. So I think these two things are the biggest strengths of our democracy.
While giving answer to this question,
Right, sir.
also keep in mind that there are some very, very important things which you indirectly mention in your answer. So you will say free and fair election. That is the strength of our democracy. Okay.
Right, sir.
Then the political parties which you mentioned. So you can say that political parties, their existence. Third is the opposition.
Right, sir.
That again is an important strength of our democracy.
Democracy.
Fourth is the independent judiciary, which is again a strength of our democracy. Fifth is the civil society, which in comprising of NGOs and other. That again is a strength of society.
Right, sir.
Then media, independent media is also a strength of our society.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
So
Right,
that's
sir.
how you will answer the question.
Sure, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Anubhav, are you working somewhere?
Yes, sir. Recently, I'm appointed as assistant professor in a constituent college of Lucknow University.
Acha.
Yes, sir.
You are married, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have done MA post-graduation in PSIR,
Yes, sir.
but your preference for services does not prove this point. You have given IFS as number 3 choice.
Right, sir.
Why?
Sir, the fact that I have done political science and international relations, I believe will help me serve on the ground in India in the administrative services and police services as well. My training as a political scientist doesn't necessarily entail, I believe, sir, for me to necessarily go for a career abroad only. If I may elaborate on that, sir.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Finland has joined the NATO.
Sorry, sir?
Finland
Yes, sir.
has become a member of NATO. Huh?
Yes, sir.
That means the era of Finlandization, as they call it, is over now.
Right, sir.
How do you see the future prospects of this development in the ongoing war?
Right, sir. Sir, when we talk about the fact that Finland has joined NATO, how I see these upcoming developments, I see it in the larger context of a revision of international world order. A lot of other powers, for instance China, are trying to revise the American dominance over the international world order. And right now what can be really seen as a divide that is coming up between US and what is called the Sino-Russia axis. So whenever, sir, there is a revision of international world order, there is meant to be some tumult and there is meant to be some sort of friction in the international sphere. The current war between Russia and Ukraine is nothing but that, and US is trying to establish its dominance over Europe through NATO, and China, which is trying to revise this world, is moving along with Russia to provide an alternative vision for the world.
Okay. One last question.
Yes, sir.
What are the challenges to the multi-party parliamentary democracy in India?
Right, sir. So one of the biggest challenges to multi-party parliamentary democracy in India, I believe, sir, is the blurring of ideological lines along which parties are constituted. If we look at the traditional definition of political parties, it is a group of people who come together because they have a shared vision for India. Nowadays, sir, it is electoral success rather than a shared ideological vision for country, which is the main catalyst for people taking stands on issues. And when you have that happening, that has leading to a decline of multi-party parliamentary democracy, because
Will it be proper? Will it be more appropriate for the country to have a dual party system instead of multi-party system?
Sir, multi-party system, I think, is something that is in the interest of the Indian democracy, because again, like I mentioned, sir, we are a very diverse country with a lot of voices and voices that need to be heard. So it is through these parties that these voices can be heard at the highest level of legislature.
What happens when a single party gets huge majority, brute majority?
Yes, sir.
Don't you think that it leads to democracy slips into some kind of autocracy?
Whenever we have one party getting an overwhelming majority of seats in the legislature, as this is the scenario right now, where we see the NDA alliance having an overwhelming majority, there is naturally some sort of erosion of democracy to the extent that the amount of debates and discussions go down. But I feel we don't necessarily slip into autocracy because of the fact that we have separation of powers hardwire into our constitution, and that is why we have institutions like the judiciary which step in to prevent that transition into authoritarianism.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.